Well, this week was the first meeting between the new Biden foreign policy team and their counterparts from communist China. It didn't go very well. Look, I have news for Secretary Blinken and President Biden. China isn't interested in climate change. They are not interested in doing anything about Iran or North Korea. Those countries are allies of China. They're not interested in global public health either unless they reap the economic benefits of it. China is a communist country. They have a very different worldview and different objectives and drastically different values than America. Most of what was discussed this week was a distraction from the real threat of China, and that's what they're doing here in this country right now. It's time to talk about the real issues surrounding communist China, and if the Biden administration won't do it, states should protect their economies, their infrastructure, and their citizens. Let me give you an example. In 1999, Texas passed a mandate which required that the state's utilities get more power from renewable sources of energy. Well, Beijing jumped at the opportunity. Chinese wind and solar power, backed by financing connected to the communist regime, offered a cheaper alternative to turbines and panels made here in the U.S. The first Chinese-developed wind power project in this country was announced in 2009, located on 36,000 acres in West Texas. Now, for perspective, that is more than twice the size of the island of Manhattan. It was even slated to receive about $450 million from the Obama administration, and after it caused some controversy, the project was shelved. But instead of raising alarm bells over China's aggressive pursuit of U.S. energy interests, Washington and Texas did virtually nothing. The buying and the building spree by Chinese-connected wind companies continued, and between 2012 and 2017, Chinese interests bought tens of thousands of additional acres in Texas for wind power development. By 2019, Chinese entities owned nearly 200,000 acres in the U.S., worth billions. They're buying farms, they're buying ranches, and land for renewable energy and other purposes. The United States must immediately ban Chinese companies or those tied to Beijing from investing in our power grid. Chinese involvement in our critical infrastructure should be regarded as a threat to our national security. Texas continues to allow foreign sales of its land today. A quarter of its electricity generation comes from wind, much of it made from Chinese components. As of last fall, Beijing has made nearly $17 billion in total investment transactions in the U.S. energy sector alone. President Trump tried to do something about this. He signed two measures to try to address the threat. The same month that he signed one of those orders, U.S. authorities seized a 250-ton Chinese-manufactured transformer from our electrical grid that had hardware backdoors for malicious computer code. Not surprisingly, on his first day in office, Joe Biden inexplicably suspended the Trump measures, sweeping aside a legitimate national security concern for the sake of his climate change agenda. The Chinese Communist Party, along with some useful idiots in the U.S. environmental lobby, is advancing a multi-pronged strategy to project and influence power within our borders. Land and energy infrastructure need to be off limits to communist China, and if Biden won't do it, states like Texas should. Folks, we are in a new Cold War. The enemy isn't at the doorstep, they're in our house, and it's time to get serious about getting them out.